How's it going, everyone? Welcome to The Hook. As you can see, in my rose kit right here, this is about to get retired for the year. I had tears. I think I'm all cried out now. Not really, but it was a great Six Nations to watch. As an American, we watched it on NBC Sports Gold for the first time in, not having to go find a black stream, as it were, or go hopefully find a bar wherever you're at, like I was looking for last year to watch Six Nations. Man, it was a great tournament, and I really wanted to see, the changes that Eddie made work, and they didn't, which says a lot about how good Ireland was, how good Ireland is, and then how poor some of these other teams were, right? So England finds itself at 5th in the table, above Italy, which is kind of brutal, but it is what it is. Going into the Italy versus Scotland matchup, man, I wanted Italy to win it so bad. They had, I think, a crowd of like 70,000, which was awesome, and they were ahead for a significant portion of the match, and then, started making errors, and the same things the Scots did against France, against England. Like, they just started working. They just wore down the Italians, really. Greg Laidlaw, Hugh Jones, Sean Maitland. Just, was it Sergio Parise's squad just didn't really happen, towards the end, in the second half. And, man, they were balling for the first 45 minutes, and then they just, they ran out of juice. What does that mean? Well, if we look at the models, Italy and Scotland are basically the same. Italy's a little bit better in that they do have a semi-professional/professional league under the two Pro 14 sides. Scotland is launching 6 semi-pro sides to feed into their 2 Pro 14 sides. And then play for Italy's 2 Pro 14 franchises has gotten better. They're playing good rugby this year, which really says a lot more about the future of Italian rugby than it does say about the Six Nations. But, they went out and played some ball throughout the Six Nations. But Scotland did what it needed to do, surprisingly for me, because they really weren't healthy coming into the tournament. And then going on to Wales versus France. Shout out to France Féminine, Les Bleus. The French women defeated Wales and won the Grand Slam in the Women's Six Nations. Congratulations to them. They were hungry. They got after it. But we're here really to talk about Wales versus France men. And, in this match, Les Bleus, they really didn't do what the French normally do. And I want to say, I don't know if this tournament really hasn't been typical for them when they could be good or bad. I think it's sort of, turning the corner. Guy Noves was, on point as one of the best French coaches in a long time, and he wasn't able to get things out of his team, it seems. That's why he was fired. Jacques Brunel, guys can fail places, and then they can be good somewhere else. And we might see that, but it's going to take significant work with the squad to like install a culture down to even the age grade system, so that they just have this killer instinct, so that they don't blow it in high level matches. So they played Wales close. Their defense was on point, but Wales just had just enough from their team to do this. I didn't really caught the highlights of it, and I was happy with the way the French played, because when I buy that Ireland jersey that I promised, I guess everyone that I would buy, I'm also going to buy that last French one, because it'll be pretty nice. It's the last one made by Adidas. It's in that nice blue. It'll be pretty good. But I was really impressed with what Brunel has been able to do with Les Bleus over time in this Six Nations, with not really having much time to look at those players. And so, really good for them. And the big match of the weekend, which was broadcast live on NBC, well, on delay. I watched it on NBC Sports Gold, and then it was on NBC. At halftime, they started their broadcast from the beginning. So if you just happen to be sitting at home in the States, you got to see free rugby and one of the high key matches of the tournament. This is where, like, the Irish really weren't tested to an extent. Elliot Daly, and that guy nails. Like, his effort was unquestionable for England on Saturday. Eddie Jones had the pitch extended 2 meters for both try zones, which is completely legal. And people may say, oh, that's, dirty. I was like, hey, it's within the laws. It's not really dirty. The fact that you can have a 22-meter try zone really, really confounds me. They didn't go to the max on this. It was probably supposedly to help with their kick and chasing when they're deep in enemy territory as a while, so that they can score early. Well, that only really happened once off a kick from Faz. And then, that deep try zone really only helped Ireland the rest of the way. And, they were just very technical. They were sound. They didn't take a lot of chances. And I don't know if it's fatigue. I really don't. I wonder if the intensity with how Eddie coaches is chafing this team a little too hard, or if it's that some of these players are just sort of done at this level, where they could probably still play like 4 or 5 years in the pros, but they don't have their, like... Everyone who is on the national team is not a depth player. They're not. They are a first-choice player. That's how you should be looking at this. And some of these guys, like Dylan Hartley, I think he's done, really. James Haskell, he might be done. I hope he's not. I hope he makes it to the World Cup, because his work rate and how much he just does, like the small things, and he just finds work, is, really hard to duplicate. I liked seeing Don Armand there. I wish he would have started at 6 instead of coming off the bench. But there was just something wrong with how they played. But their effort was there. I think Mako Vunipola might be done also. He just, I don't know, really hard to put my hand on it. I think he was just tired in all sorts of ways, if it makes sense. But, that try that Elliot Daly scored, and was it not Elliot Daly, I think it was Johnny May, was scored at the end, how committed England was to not commit a penalty in extra time in the second half and put it, there. Says a lot about how, professional this team is and how professional they are. Because they could have just kicked it out and, gotten it, turned the ball over and gotten it done with. But they didn't. They did what they needed to do. So, hat tip to Ireland. Six Nations Grand Slam champions. Also, Peter O'Mahony, one of my favorite guys on the Ireland team. He was, he plays like a true six, right? Always finds the work. Always leads. And, that's why he's the Munster captain. But this goes into, always leading. There's, Miss Malone, I think her name is Jennifer Malone. She's a special needs girl. He gave her his medal. First, it was just for the picture, and I guess her mother took it to the hotel the next day and said, "Here you go." And he was like, "No, you got it. You can have it." And she, my sister's special needs, and if my sister had found something that made her happy, like rugby, and she just always wanted to go watch rugby, and, something like this, one of the players gave her his medal, that would be the most touching thing to me. So, Peter O'Mahony's a saint. Okay? He's a good guy. So I'm very happy for Ireland and, their fans. It was a great tournament. Great to watch. I really can't wait to see what Ireland does over the next year going into the World Cup. So, that's all my opinions about the Six Nations for this year. I'll see you guys next year. Catch me on MLR News and Notes and at Earful of Dirt for the podcast that I do with my crew. So, like, subscribe, comment. I'm out.